Hello, my loves. I'm Ellie Frost. Thank you so much for being here, where we are talking about the multi-dimensional approach to rapidly and radically healing and transforming during and after narcissistic abuse. Healing and transforming means we don't just heal the pain, we also transform into our best version of selves, into our authentic power and truth, into our best lives. I teach a lot of manifestation as well as healing. So this video is about how to never be manipulated by a narcissist again. Okay, I'm going to give you just some great strategies. One is take your time in relationships, right? Narcissists railroad you. They literally force relationships. I've talked before about how I had a narcissistic friend and I sort of made it clear that I couldn't really hang out with her anymore. And one day she left flowers on my doorstep, and that seems really nice. But what does that create in me? Guilt. Yeah, they create fear, obligation, and guilt. They force relationships. They railroad you. She knew it would make me feel guilty and that I'd look bad because she's really nice. She did a nice thing, right? She sent me flowers. She also did many abusive things, and wouldn't let me easily get out of the relationship. And I was still quite a people pleaser at the time. So it was so sticky. It's very sticky. They put you in traps and they make obligations on you, right? That you haven't agreed to. They manipulate you into consenting to the relationship. So if you can take your time, then you get to pause. Take your time. I teach people discerning statements, and just to say, like, if you're a chronic people pleaser like I was, right? Even if you're not chronic, if you can say more often, I'll think about that, rather than yes, because a lot of us struggle to say no. But like, if you can say, I'll think about it, I'll let you know, rather than just, because a people pleaser, would just generally try and please the person. So I'd often agree to things I didn't want to agree to. I'd often agree to do things I didn't want to do, right? So just take your time. Use statements like, let me get back to you. Let me think about that. I might have something on. Second strategy, practice silence and discernment. Yeah. When the narcissist presents the illusion of who you want them to be in the love bombing stage, we tend to move too fast. So again, it's about not rushing. But it's also about like being okay in silence. Some of us aren't okay in silence, so we talk because we get anxious or whatever, and we're not really observing the other person. Right? And when you're with a narcissist, if you see the narcissistic stare, they're scanning you. They're always trying to mimic you. They're trying to act so that you form a familiarity to them, so you form a bond. They're always analysing you, right? Because they're manipulators and they work in the psychic realm. So practice silence. Don't give away too much too fast. I was terrible at this because I'm such an open person. And as an open-hearted person, we tend to expect people to be like us and trustworthy. I'd give away trust to, I'm going to get onto that in a minute, but I'd trust people too early. Yeah. And if we've grown up and abusive people have been normalized, or we've been in abusive relationships, then we have been conditioned to trust and rely on these people and be quite submissive to them. So when someone else we meet is like that, we tend to go back into an old role, like a submissive role, if we've been in these dynamics before. So practice silence and discernment. You're actually observing them too. Take your time. Number 3, ask questions. Yeah, it can be quite, when we haven't had a lot of connection, or even if we have, it can be very exciting when we meet someone who seems to get us. And the narcissist is constantly scanning you for information. And in the love bombing, they know exactly who you need them to be, right? So we sometimes get so excited and we want to talk and we forget to ask questions that would actually, dig a bit deeper beyond the surface level, because that will help us see if there's any red flags. So like when, you might want to know about their past relationships. You might want to, sometimes we get excited at the beginning of a relationship and we avoid knowing the truth, right? I'm going to get onto that too. So have some questions that you want answered ready. There's nothing wrong with that. Preparing yourself when you're with people, that, really take your time and practice silence, practice discernment. And after you're with someone, think about things that, because with a narcissist, there's always things going on behind the scenes, and we often get a feeling about that. But sometimes we don't ask direct questions. Yeah. It's okay to say to someone, look, I remember you mentioned your past relationship and that it was very, it was a bad ending or something. Do you mind telling me, I hope it's not too intrusive, do you mind telling me a bit more about that? You'll soon see who they are if you ask questions, but most of the time they're questioning you, or, we might be ignoring some of the red flags, and it's okay to go deeper. There's polite ways you can do it. You can say, I hope it's not intrusive, but I was just wondering about this. I'd just like to know. And you haven't got to validate, excuse, or justify yourself. That's very important when you've been through these cycles. I teach people this all the time, especially if you're in the fawn trauma response a lot, right? Justifying, validating, or excusing yourself is not necessary. Yeah, you mentioned this. I'd just like to know a little bit more about it. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? That's a soft way of asking something. Can you tell a little bit more about what happened with your ex? Like, you mentioned it. I mean, as long as it's appropriate, right? As long as it's come up in the conversation, you're allowed to ask questions. Number 4 is trust your gut. So many of us have said, I mean, I have people, my client says to me all the time, and I know it. I did it myself. I had a feeling, but I ignored it. Now, look, we want to believe the best in people so often, and there's nothing wrong with you if you've done this. I mean, we've all done it. Most of us have anyway. Well, we've had that feeling that something was off, but we didn't know what it was. So we ignored our feelings. We overrode it with our logic. And of course, the narcissist takes you out of your body or trauma bonds you so that you're just traumatized and frozen in your body, and then manipulates you with your mind. Yeah, because your body knows this is wrong for you, right? And that's why we get so many emotions and trauma bonds and things that we've got to process. And processing emotions is so important. But your gut is rarely wrong. Now, your gut instinct is different to your fear and your trigger and your wound instinct, right? So there's a few things to this where we've got to know what we're listening to in our intuition. But most of us know something is off. And when something's off, it's a time to dig deeper and ask questions maybe, but also trust it. Trust it. I've said to people many times, things like, you don't need to know why that person's not right for you. If your instinct is that they're just not right for you, trust it. Because if you carry on, you'll find out later why they're not right for you, but you'll go through a lot of pain doing it. I talk about how my body doesn't like bacon. I don't know why. It makes me feel unwell, right? I don't need to hate bacon. I don't need to really go into any kind of analysis on it. I haven't got to go to a lab and get tested to why my body just doesn't really like bacon. The smell of it, the taste of it, it just doesn't agree with me. I don't need to stop other people eating bacon, but I just need to know that for me, it just doesn't work, right? And that's the same with a lot of people. Like, some people are just not going to be right for you. They're not necessarily narcissists. So animals know this. Some dogs love each other. Some dogs, they get really sort of weird. I remember a friend of mine said, oh, maybe the dogs are reacting to their past lives when my dog was having a little bit of a bark at another dog. But some people just don't gel with us, and our instincts are correct. It's important to know whether we're coming from fear or our true intuition, but you don't need to know too much. Even if you're coming from a wounded place, if that person is triggering you, then they're probably not great to be around right now until you heal, So it's okay to be where you are. You get to be, I talked about this in the Sovereign Coaching Call, you get to be loved where you are. You get to build relationships where you are. You haven't got to be fully healed for that. You just need people who can accommodate you where you are and grow with you, right? What's the last one? 5, don't ignore the red flags. So that's kind of like trusting your gut. So now you've learned a lot probably about narcissistic abuse if you're here. If you haven't, then I'm sure you're on the journey of. And you've learned a lot about red flags and manipulators and toxic people that abuse you, people that put you down, people that make you feel uncomfortable, I always say this test to my clients, does that person make you feel that you can be more of yourself, or do you have to shrink down and be a little bit less? Because the people that are the best and most empowering to be around help you thrive and come into yourself more. They like you being more of you, right? But if you have to cut off pieces of yourself and dumb down pieces of yourself, then probably not the people that you're going to grow and thrive around, right? So I hope that's been helpful. Please keep liking, subscribing and sharing. I'm going to do another draw. So I did a draw in January. And we had one lovely winner who's come into the Sovereign program for free. So if you like my videos and share one and email me, ellie@elliefrost.com, that you have shared, which one you shared, I will enter you into the draw, which I'm going to now do this one on the 1st of March, and somebody will win complete access for a year to the Sovereign Programme. But don't wait for the draw. If you're ready to really heal and transform and manifest and live your best life, join Sovereign now. The notes are in the comments. Lots of love, guys, and I'll speak to you soon.